I've even suggested that the atheist movement would be better off if it adopted an approach more like that of intersectional feminism.
Oh, really, Steve? What does intersectional atheism look like? I checked it out, and I have to say, I'm not all that surprised. Underneath what can only be understood as the largest piece of uncritical, emotionally self-masturbating garbage in the form of a YouTube video's description, there is a list of YouTube channels that Steve himself has provided as examples of true feminist, atheist, intersectionalist doctrine. Let's have a look, shall we?
First off, I'd like to say that the answer to this video's title is yes, John Green is problematic. Because everyone is problematic.
I'm too old for this shit.
John Green, the wacky, weedy, firmly liberal creator behind Crash Course History, is problematic. Because, of course, everyone is problematic by the impossible standards of perfection held by what Tori the Queer used as the source of this knowledge. Tumblr. And a specific blog on Tumblr that says that Lacey Green has shown herself to be intolerant, transphobic, cis-sexist, Islamophobic, and having unchecked white privilege, among other things. It's funny that she admits that everyone is problematic because she, too, is problematic, specifically in a video where she stipulates that
if you're a decent person, don't comment on people's physical appearance in videos unless it's something positive that also doesn't over-sexualize.
Hours after retweeting a tweet that over-sexualizes Justin Bieber's naked butt. But at least she has the decency to apologize for this after it was so kindly brought to her attention. She's not a complete hypocrite. She just lacks the self-awareness to realize that her impossible standards for how people should act are so ridiculous that she's not even able to live up to them. Not to mention that she believes that all criticism of Islam is Islamophobia.
I'm just gonna say it once. Islam is not a monolithic codified doctrine. Islamic terrorism is not a black and white issue. There is a very loaded geopolitical context that explains Muslim rage, and a large part of that context is bad US foreign policy. Islamic terrorism is not a black and white issue. There is a very loaded geopolitical context that explains Muslim rage.
Muslims strapping on bombs and blowing up other Muslims who are the majority of victims of terrorism in the Middle East, where the majority of suicide bombings happen, is all because of US foreign policy. So their killing of civilians is justified, and if you criticize Islam, then you're Islamophobic.
Because, to tell you the truth, the fact that half of my audience hates me doesn't make me sad or anything. It mostly just gives me a good laugh. But on occasion, I'm reminded of what their anger is indicative of, and I get angry.
Let's just pause for a moment to remember that this is the same person who is literally defending so-called Muslim rage in the form of mass killings of civilians in another video. But if someone's angry at her, if someone doesn't like her opinion, now something's the matter.
I'd like to think that it's righteous indignation. Not at the injustice of being disliked, but at the grander injustices that lead to my opinions being unpalatable.
It's an injustice that people don't like her opinions. But the religiously motivated killing of civilians is justified because foreign policy. No, Tori. People disliking your ideas is not a result of injustice. If people outside of your little hug box dislike your ideas, it's probably because your ideas are shit.
But wait! There's more!
Now, other than being a self-deluded, ill-educated, holier-than-thou, Tumblrite feminist stereotype, Tori isn't that bad of a person. She has good intentions, but she's only the tip of the iceberg.
Hang on to your seat, baby, cause this one's a screamer!
I watched Gary Edwards' response to me. Anyway, it was typical to me. Just more faux objective, fragile, white male trite, full of misconceptions on what intersectionality is, and condescension.
Holy shit!
Oh, go on, you little princess. Tell me more about how condescending Gary Edwards was in a video you made titled, "Cleaning the Rancid Mayo Off My Plate, You Fucking Racist Hypocrite."
Let's just get into what intersectionality really is.
If I were to take this video as any good measurement of what intersectionality is the process by which, quote, oppressed, unquote, people can pathologize anyone who disagrees with them, objectifying them and reducing them to nothing more than their race, sex, and sexuality to dismiss their arguments.
Now, white fragility is a state in which even the slightest bit of racial stress becomes intolerable, causing a white person to act in a myriad of defensive ways, including argumentation.
Being argumentative is not a racially based disease, you stupid, fucking, racist hypocrite.
Go fuck yourself.
He lashed out at me, throwing out philosophical terms to look smarter for his audience and to reestablish his racial comfort. And thinking that all people have the same realities is a subjective point of view.
Everyone shares the same reality, you blundering idiot. People don't magically live in their own subjective dimensional bubbles.
I am going to tear down your safe space. Brick by brick, I shall smash it with glee.
What? Who is that?
You cannot stop me from getting inside. I am cold and I am hard, and my name is reality.
Everyone and everything that exists is all sharing the same single dimension, universe, and existence. That's why they call it the universe, from the Latin uni, meaning one. This is basic object permanency, something your average 5-year-old has learned by now. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't there.
Well, that depends. Can you go fuck yourself?
Now you might just think, this kind of blatant hypocrisy is as far as it goes for intersectional atheism. Someone using so-called intersectionalism to justify their own blatant hatred of white people while somehow desperately trying to maintain the moral high ground is as worse as it gets. But you'd be wrong.
Yeah, anyway, this shoe-on-head cunt, and Armored Skeptic, is just using you as a place to stick his dick, as and when he feels like it. You're just a cum bucket. You're just a cum bucket. You're just a cum bucket.
Simple. Used to sit all day in the garden, crushing beetles with a rock.
Yeah, anyway, this shoe-on-head cunt.
What kind of brain-dead fucking moron would use this in any kind of argument? More importantly, what kind of feminist would use this in any kind of argument? Even worse, what kind of feminist would say that?
She sort of reminds me of, you know, that kid at school who was so desperate to be sort of liked that they'd do anything, like they'd fucking, I don't know, eat a dog turd in order to get someone to laugh.
Just minutes after saying...
And I'll forestall the obvious, usual fucking drivel that people come out with about white knighting. I'm not white knighting. In the slightest, right?
Olsen, why are you smashing all those beetles? He gave me an answer. Smurf the beetles! Smurf them!
Kevin Logan, a fat, beetle-smashing, potato-faced, neckbeard, male feminist moron, is saying that I'm not doing anything for female attention by being a feminist, but that anti-feminist cunt, shoe-on-head, is just saying things for male attention. And she's a cum bucket.
You're just a cum bucket.
Kevin Logan wants to police what women can think and what actions they can do, because he wants to save all women from themselves, because women are not capable of thinking for themselves. Women who disagree with him are only doing it because they're cum bucket cunts who are trying to get male attention. You're really starting to sound like a misogynist, Kev.
Self-degrading and indeed gender-degrading antics.
Tried to stop Olsen once. He was twice your size. He just pushed me aside with a coup and kept on smashing. Every day, until that mule kicked him in the chest and killed him.
A quick sort of final note to the anti-feminists. When you say that feminism is not necessary, what in the name of fuck are you talking about? Seriously.
Alright, Kev, you pudgy, well-breasted, flabby, solipsistic moron. I don't think your version of feminism is needed because I don't think that women should have to agree with your ideology in order to be considered human beings and treated with basic dignity. Now, usually I wouldn't waste time on people like Kev and Tori. They're just not important, and their arguments are so ridiculous that it hardly needs to be argued against to fall apart. What is important is that Steve Chives has literally endorsed these channels. This isn't a case of guilt by association, because this isn't an example of two ships passing in the night. Steve has literally endorsed these channels, which means one of two things. Either Steve doesn't support these ridiculous ideas and simply chose these people based on their ideological support and did no research on them, or Steve does support these people and their ridiculous ideas, and we can consider them part of the four horsemen of intersectional atheism. By the way, yes, there is a fourth horseman. She just deserves her own individual video. I'll give you a hint as to who it is.